Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Governance Committee meeting today. I'm Councillor Murphy and the Chair of City Governance. Firstly, I would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. So welcome to the Governance Committee meeting of the 5th of March 2024. I declare this meeting open at 9:59 a.m. I would also like to advise all attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. On item 3 is attendance and leave of absence. Today we have one leave of absence and it is up on the board. Councillor Raven is away today. Could I please get someone to move that motion? Councillor Hall has moved it. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Bannon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. That has been carried. Can we go around the room, please, starting with you, Mr. Mayor, and just say how you voted?
I abstain for the reason that I've already mentioned.
Councillor Bradley?
I'm abstaining because Councillor Raven told me he was going to a community meeting in an election period caretaker time, and I think that's inappropriate.
Councillor Lane?
Order. Why is that inappropriate to talk to your community? We're allowed to talk to community when we're in caretaker mode. We don't stop talking to community, so I don't see why that's inappropriate. So,
Thank you. I think we'll just take it and move on. Councillor Lane? How did you vote? Against? Councillor Russell?
For the same reason I stated before.
Councillor Kransky?
Abstain.
Did you want to do a reason at all?
For the same reasons I've already stated, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Hall?
4.
Fraser?
4.
Jeremiah?
4.
4.
Bat. Councillor Stemp? 4. And Councillor Wilcox?
Against.
And did you want... No. Thank you, everybody. We'll move on to item 4, declarations of conflicts of interest. I now refer to declaration of conflicts of interest. Does any councillors wish to declare any conflicts of interest against any of the reports from today's agenda? No, there being none. Righto, we'll get started into the report. So today we have 4 reports, and hopefully we'll get through these quite quickly because I know that the councillors are quite keen to get back out to their community. So starting first off, we've got 5.1, which is the 2023 American Records Management Association International INTOCO Conference from the 9th to the 11th of October 2023, summary of learnings. Thank you. I believe I'm passing this over to Leo. Leo, you may enter the discussions.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, councillors. Item 5.1 is the 2023 ARMA International Infocon Conference Summary of Learnings. In October, our Records Management Program Leader, Meryl Burke, attended the American Records Management International Conference in Detroit for a Records and Information Management Practitioners Alliance Scholarship. As per Council's decision in August last year, this report is presented to committee today, providing a summary of Meryl's learnings at Infocon. This attendance of Meryl's is worthy recognition for almost 37 years' contribution to the records and information industry and caps off a highly successful year for her, where she was recognised with an Outstanding Individual Award at the recent Records and Information Management Practitioners Alliance, which is RIMPA, at their conference, and appointment as a director to the RIMPA board and awarded a lifetime membership. Meryl's record management team here at Logan also shared success this year at RIMPA, with at the conference winning the Outstanding Group Award for the work they did at the 2023 Records and Information Management Month initiative that they did here at Council. So Meryl's with me today and is happy to take any questions you may have on the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Leo. Meryl, congratulations. 37 years to do records is a long time, and I just wanted to say thank you for what you do. I know that you have to deal with us councillors on a monthly basis with our record keeping, so thank you for what you do. Councillors, is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Councillor Bradley.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I know Meryl does some community work in Division 1 as well, so thank you very much for all that as well.
Thank you very much. Meryl, did you want to say anything at all?
Just through the chair, just quickly, just wanted to say thank you for supporting, for council and for you guys for supporting me to attend over there. It was an amazing experience, and RIMPA are offering another scholarship this year to the Houston conference, so I'll miss out on that one because you can't double dip, but thank you very much for the opportunity. I really much appreciated.
Thank you so much for what you do, and thank you, Leo, for presenting the report. Thank you very much for today. I don't think we have any further questions for yourself. Thank you. Does anybody have any general business at all for Leo? Oh, sorry, I need to vote on that. Sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Oh, no, sorry. Can I get a mover, please, for the report? I'm way ahead. Councillor Kransky, then Councillor Hall. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Wow. I want to go back to the community. Thank you. That has been carried. Thank you very much, Meryl and Leo. Does anybody have any GB for Leo while we have him in the room? No, there be none. Do you have any for us?
Through the chair, not today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any general business for the Director of People and Engagement, Ms. Kim Bryant, at all? Kim, would you have any for us today?
No general business today, councillors. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Do we have... No, we're moving on to our report 5.2. Could I please have Rebecca Smith and Emily Shafto to come to the table? Councillors, we're looking at the Australian Local Government Association 2024 National General Assembly of the Local Government. Rebecca, you're talking to the report today. Thank you. Can you enter the discussions?
Good morning, everyone. Through the chair, we're here today to seek endorsement for motions to be submitted for the inclusion on the National General Assembly NGA Local Government Conference agenda. You'll see from the report that the deadline for motions is the 29th of March, hence we're coming to committee today. Delegates to the conference will be determined at the post-election meeting for the new council. However, the motion before you today supports a previously endorsed report of the City Lifestyle Committee from the 16th of January, which was to had a recommendation to make a submission to the Federal Senate inquiry, which was actually held yesterday, and our Mayor and Emily attended. And the second recommendation was that was endorsed referred to advocacy on this subject. We see the motions going forward today as a key part of that advocacy, and we're seeking your support. Emily is here to answer any questions should you have any specifics as the subject matter expert. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Mayor Powell. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The conference motion regarding the fire ants, I just wanted to bring your attention to the fact that we went to a Senate inquiry yesterday on that, and something that I didn't know came out of it as I was speaking, and there was a councillor from Gold Coast. Gold Coast actually employ 13 officers to look after their fire ants issue. Now, I understand they've got a tourism industry to protect, but I'm thinking that we have probably, we're going to have to start taking an interest in this for a number of reasons. One is the cost shifting from the state government to us in how we conduct our properties or land in the city. But I would imagine there's going to be quite a bit of a budget implications that you may need to watch out for in the next couple of months. But I can say that we gave the senators all the information we needed to give them. I don't think they came around. I don't think we left anything behind. Certainly, I explained the situation of our financial position, particularly with infrastructure charges, and how we're struggling financially as a result of that. So hopefully they will look down upon us and take pity on us to some degree. But it was a bit hard when the Gold Coast Council were demonstrating they've got 13 of their own officers on the ground trying to prevent the spread of fire ants. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillors, is there any further questions? Emily, did you want to enter the discussion at all? Any questions?
Through the chair, if I may just make one observation. Thank you, Mayor, for your comments. The City Safety and Livability Branch are currently preparing a service enhancement to scale up in the Reading Port of Fire Ant suppression sphere. So it is something certainly on our radar at the moment, and it is likely to come before councillors in the upcoming budget round. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much through you, Madam Chair. Emily, if that's the case, can we also look at whether or not more support can be done as part of that budget enhancement for our sporting clubs? I know that several of mine have had fire ants pop up, and the onus is on them to actually treat it, not on the council, which I think is a bit of a mistake because they only treat their fields but not the surrounding areas. So if we can look at that as part of that whole uptake, that'd be magic.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. We can certainly consider it.
Yes, Councillor Jeremiah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is separate from this specific discussion around fire ants and more about alga in general. I think that going forward into future years, I think we should investigate proposing motions that are more to do with our debts rather than what we've proposed in the past. And the reason why is because we're borrowing more and more money every year, and the interest rate on that debt is decided by the financial markets. The federal government regulates those financial markets. So if we can advocate changes to the federal government to say, let's open up how competitive the market that purchases state government bonds, which then results in our interest rate, it will have a flow-on effect of us having a lower interest rate, which will mean fewer repayments, and as our debt grows, that will become a bigger and bigger line item on our budget. So I hope maybe next year, whenever the time's right, we should consider putting forward a motion to do with financial services and the financial markets to get a better bang for our buck from our borrowings. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Jeremiah. Very important part, and I'm sure that's been noted today. Ladies, do you have any further comment at all? Thank you. Councillors, could I please ask for a mover for this report? Councillor Bradley has moved it. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Wilcox has seconded the motion. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. While we have the manager of the Office of the CEO, does anybody have any general business? Like, do you have any for us at all?
No, thank you.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the chair. I'm just curious, and I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question to ask. Does council actively check public records of councillors for potential breaches during the caretaker mode or grouping or anything like that? No. Okay, that's all.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. Thank you very much, ladies. Councillors, we'll move on to our report 5.3. If Kay Sullivan could come to the desk, please. We're going to be looking at the final Information Technology Service Branch Service Review. Kay, if you wouldn't mind entering the discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This report relates to Phase 3 and 4 for our service reviews for ITS branch. Just as a reminder for councillors, Phase 1 and 2 identified that we had 2 services and 9 service activities for ITS, and that was customer service and information technology, and then the service activities under that were the IT service desk, IT infrastructure, cyber security, IT strategy and governance, digital workplace, IT end user asset management, the IT network and unified communications, platform and application support, and solution advisory and delivery. Phase 3 and 4 of the service reviews has identified that we have 31 endorsed improvements as opportunities. And what we've done is categorise those based on a value and effort assessment. So we have 16 low effort, high value improvements that we can start to implement almost immediately, and then 15 high effort, high value improvements as well for ITS branch. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the report. Just wondering, this has shown all of the opportunities for improvement. Just wondering how many positive improvements, feedbacks were already there, set in place or were recognised?
So this is in addition to the ongoing continuous improvement that we have in the IT branch. So as we know, in the future, IT is going to be more and more expensive and cost council more and more money and be a greater percentage of our cost base in the future. So we've got a dedicated IT contracts manager, and she saves council in the order of $400,000 to $600,000 per year through negotiating either the removal of contracts that we no longer use, or the consolidation and just contract renegotiation when those ones come up. So that's been a key area. And then the other one that we continue to work through is application consolidation. So there's over 2,500 applications in use at council, and so we continue to look at identifying similar applications that do the same thing and taking them out of our business so that we can reduce the cost not only of those contracts themselves but also the overarching effort it takes to manage and maintain those.
Thank you. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much. I think just to answer that, you've made a huge difference and the outcomes are really positive. Councillor Lane doesn't open random emails anymore, to the point that you've drummed it into my head, and there was an email that came through every week for a couple of weeks saying you've got reserved emails. I thought, not today, Satan, it's not happening. And it turns out it was actually residents' emails being sequestered for it. So you've really drummed it into our heads. Cybersecurity costs ratepayers money, and we're being very careful. So thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
That's a great endorsement, isn't it? Thank you. Councillors, any further questions? Can I please ask for a mover for this report? Councillor Wilcox, then Councillor Bradley. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. Does anybody have any general business for the Enterprise Portfolio Management Office Manager? That's a mouthful and a half. Does anybody? No? Do you have any JB for us today?
Nothing today.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Councillors, we're going to move on to our last report of the day, which is 5.4, the monthly financial performance report for January 2024. Ms. Carolyn Bugg, would you like to enter the discussions, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, councillors. As mentioned, item 5.4 is a monthly financial report for the period ending January 2024. I'll just note there's one new risk identified in January in this report. It's the increased legislative obligations to council, where we're now required to identify, assess and licence injectable businesses across Logan City. And as previously mentioned, the cost from the December weather event will continue to reflect both in this report and also in later financial reports. The report for January continues to reflect the same trends that have emerged in recent financial reports presented to council. As you're aware, we do complete up to 3 budget amendments each financial year, and we're looking to address these variances that have been identified as a trend in the upcoming second budget amendment. This is also an opportunity for the branches to review both their revenue and their expenditure against budget. Now to the report. The operating result reflects a surplus of $29.55 million. This result is above year-to-date budget by $17.98 million, and that result is predominantly driven by revenue being greater than budget year-to-date. So to the revenue, it is running $21.8 million above budget. The items driving the variance in the operating revenue I have raised in previous reports, but just quickly, water charges are higher than the budget. The revenue is offset by bulk water costs. Private works is also running above budget. Again, it's offset by expenditure. DA fees continue to hold and are tracking above budget. And then there are a couple of one-off transactions that are causing or contributing to the variance, predominantly grants received by council that are not considered at the original budget. We don't consider them because the value was unknown at the time of developing the budget. There are two grants in this category. One is the Restoration of Public Asset Grant and also the Digital Connectivity Program Grant. Both the revenue and related expenses for both of these grants will be reflected in the next budget amendment. Interest is also running above its budget year to date by $2 million. Again, this will be adjusted in our upcoming budget amendment. In relation to operating expenses, we're running marginally above budget, $3.86 million variance to budget, but that's less than a 1% variance to the original budget. And as previously reported, the two major items are the water and private works items that obviously are offset by that revenue. Outstanding rates are tracking as per our usual cyclical nature and in line with the levy. So the January levy is reflected in this report as revenue, but the due date for that payment wasn't until the 16th of February. So we do see that outstanding rates uptick at this point in the cycle. Other than that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have regarding the January report.
Thank you, Caroline. I have Councillor Jeremiah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My comments today centre around excessive expenses and regrettable receipts. On page 8 of this report, there's a table that details the Innovation and City Transformation Directorate. The context behind the Innovation Directorate is that Council has launched an innovation subsidiary, and it's many people's understanding that some of the expenses from this directorate will be borne by that subsidiary, so we would expect that the operating expenses might even be lower than what was budgeted. Now, there was $130,000 allocated to the Innovation Directorate to spend, but when we look at what was actually spent, we can see that $1.3 million was spent. So instead of spending $130,000, $1.3 million was spent, over $1 million more. So when I saw that, I asked for a detailed breakdown with receipts and invoices so we can understand how was that money spent and what was it spent on. The current system in council is that even though public money was used to buy things using that $1.3 million, and even though I have some receipts and invoices on my computer, I can't share with the public what those invoices and receipts are, because by default, everything on council's computers and every information provided to a councillor is confidential by default, and until it's cleared as not being confidential, I can't talk about it. So I can't tell the community what that public money was spent on at this time, but what I can do is tell the community some questions I've asked, because there's clear concerns around this discrepancy in operating expenses. So I've asked 4 very simple questions. Number 1, that the Chief Executive Officer investigates whether those expenses and the associated procurement processes followed all of the council policy. Number 2, I asked if a directorate's expenses exceed what was approved in their budget, is there an obligation for a decision to be made by council to allow it for further expenditure to be incurred? I know if you set a budget when you go to the supermarket and you spend more than what was budgeted, there's a control mechanism, whether it be a household budget or a government budget. So that question is aimed towards understanding what are the control mechanisms in council. Third question is, what is the framework used to determine whether an expense is to be registered against the Innovation Directorate or the Innovation Subsidiary? It's clear that expenses that are related to the Innovation Subsidiary should be borne by that Innovation Subsidiary. So when we look at the different financial statements, we can understand a clearer picture. So that question is aimed at understanding how do we draw that line, and is that line being followed? Because the last thing we would want to see are expenses that are related to the Innovation Subsidiary being borne by council, and maybe even expenses that are related to council being borne by that subsidiary. So we want to understand how are we separating those two things so we can compare apples with apples. The fourth question is, which council policy and work directions regulate the purchase and management of gift cards with high monetary values? Now, council shouldn't have excessive expenses and it shouldn't have regrettable receipts, and these questions are aimed at understanding the situation, and hopefully, when it's appropriate, letting the public know what the money's being spent on. I'd like to thank the accountants for providing information, and I look forward to further correspondence from Council. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Harrimeyer. You raised some very good questions there. Carolyn, did you have any information that you can provide? Obviously, being confidential in some respects, but have you got anything to add to Councillor Harrimeyer's statements today?
Thank you, Chair. I can add a high-level response. We do look at the budget amendment to address a number of those questions that you've actually raised. So I did mention the digital connectivity grant. That is one of the significant variances in that particular directorate. We will use the budget amendment to recognise both the revenue and the offsetting expenses for that revenue. So you should see in the budget amendment, and that's your opportunity to understand what detail is in that amendment, and that is your approval of that adjustment in the budget through that process. So that is one component of the adjustment, and that's the manner in which you'll see that adjustment. The other thing to note is with the Innovation and City Transformation Directorate, there was a delay in the decision to establish the beneficial enterprise. We were carrying some costs relating to that delay. So the budget amendment, again, will account for that change in timing. So you would expect to see a budget adjustment for that additional time.
Thank you for that. So when it comes to the subsidiary and council potentially bearing costs that are relevant to that subsidiary, you've mentioned a budget adjustment. Would that consist of an invoice from council to the subsidiary saying that we've had these expenses, we've paid for them, we understand maybe the subsidiary couldn't pay for them at some time because of whatever reason, but here is an invoice to pay us back with interest. Is that what you would expect?
Through the Chair, we will go through those line-by-line transactions because this is quite a unique situation, and we'll identify the costs that should be transferred to the subsidiary. It won't be interest-bearing. It will be. We will remove the costs from our books and transfer them across to the subsidiary.
Thank you. So once if it does end up occurring, that items are identified that it should be borne by the subsidiary, expenses are identified to relate to a grant. Once all of that is removed, I would expect that the numbers would add up to what was approved when councillors voted on the budget. Because when we vote on the budget and when we look at budget amendments, it shouldn't be based on understanding. It should be based on the politicians who are elected by the people making the decision around how this government operates on a strategic level. So thank you for the answers, and I look forward to the further information and maybe seeing what expenses are relevant to which body.
Thank you, Councillor Harrimeyer. Thank you, Carolyn, for answering. I have Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, through the Chair. I obviously voted against this particular setting up of this group. But anyway, I just want to ask two questions. Excuse me. I thought it was stated it was on page 8. Is that correct?
38.
38. Page 38. Okay, thank you.
Little page 8, sorry. Yep.
Little page 8. Okay. That's one thing. And two, will there be further reports to councillors about this? Because obviously we need to be aware of this. Like, you know.
Sorry, can I just clarify? Is it a financial report you're asking as to?
Yeah, will we be getting more details? Unless Councillor Harrimeyer asked the questions, I wouldn't have picked up on it, and I'm very grateful that he has. Will we be getting more detailed information as councillors?
From us, we will provide that information through the budget amendment and through this reporting manner. From the organisation, that will be a separate reporting function.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all, Councillor Bradley? Thank you. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you, and I'd like to thank Councillor Harrimeyer for raising it But I'd also like to note, if I can have the same information, I'd be interested to read it as well, please.
Thank you. Can that be shared to Councillor Wilcox? I'm assuming that that would be all right with you, Councillor Jeremiah, if they could answer the same questions. Is that correct?
Thank you. Yeah, it's council public, not public, publicly owned but inaccessible by the public information. And yeah, I think it should be sent to all councillors, all those invoices that I've asked for.
Caroline, could you please send that through to the councillors, if that's okay? Councillor Bradley wanted to ask another question.
Yeah, sorry, I meant to put my hand up about the rates arrears. Obviously, every budget monthly report, I refer to that. It has gone up quite substantially. It's very concerning.
As I mentioned, sorry, through the chair, as I mentioned, we levy in January, so the full levy is reflected in the report. The rates are not due until mid-February.
Right.
So a lot of people, majority of people...
It will be an adjustment.
They will pay when their rates are due, which is the 16th of February. So you would expect to see that come back down at the end of in the February report.
Okay. But why, just if you can compare the two, January last year, January this year, it's a bit different though. It's the same month.
We have got the 3 months, November, December, January on this report now. So we're looking for the cyclical nature of the rates.
No, sorry, if I may clarify. In your graph, you've got January 23 and January 24, and it's substantially different.
Yep. So the growth across the city is reflected in the uptick. Our outstanding as a portion of the new is not as significant.
Okay.
So the growth is greater than the growth in outstanding rates.
Okay, thank you. I wanted that clarified. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. And just a reminder that January is a very huge month for our residents. They're recovering from Christmas. They've usually got their visa bill, and then comes the rates. So I had Councillor Mayor Powell, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say that I did have a discussion with Councillor Jeremiah about this particular topic. The information that Councillor Jeremiah brought to my attention was very concerning. I just want to thank Councillor Jeremiah for his diligent work on this, and I think you'll be very interested in the information coming forward once we obtain it. Thank you.
Thank you. Caroline, you'll supply that to the councillors in due course. Thank you. Councillors, is there any further questions? Could I get a mover, please, for the report today? Councillor Bannon has moved the report. Can I get a seconder for the report? Councillor Bradley. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any general business for the Finance Manager today? No? Carolyn, do you have any for us? Thank you for your time today. Councillors, just before we move on, does anybody have any general business for the Director of Organisational Services, Robert Stratton, today? No? Have you got any for us? Are you sure you haven't been saving them up? Oh, okay. Does anybody have any GB for the CEO today? No? Do you have any for us at all? No? Thank you. Okay. Councillors, just before we just conclude, I'd just like to thank the governance team for letting me to be the chair, and to thank the meeting team that make us look great and keep all the records. The girls support us no end to get through these committees. Thank you to the guy that records the videos down the back as well. You make us look good sometimes. Thank you to my fellow councillors and the Mayor for your support through this committee, and especially the budget process as well, because governance looks after that. I wish everybody very good luck in the elections. If you've got competition, those that haven't, congratulations on your positions. I wish the Mayor and Councillor Kransky all the best for their future endeavours as well. So that concludes today's agenda. I now declare that the governance meeting of the 5th of March 2024 concluded at 10:33. Have a wonderful day, guys.